Welcome to Awakening Streams, the podcast of One River Zen Meditation Center in Ottawa, Illinois. Hosted by Sensei Michael Shikan Bruner. Learn more, donate, and practice with us at oneriverzen.org.
As he said. So I wanted to start off today's class with a case, a koan case from the Shōyorōku, the Book of Equanimity. It's the third koan collection that we study here as we're going through our Zen training. And I think it points very well, dovetails very well into the material we're going to discuss here from A.A. Dogen. And the case is called Seirin's Deadly Snake. The case goes, attention. A monk asked Master Seirin, how about when a student proceeds on the trail? Seirin replied, dead snake, it's the great road. I advise you not to bump into it. The monk said, well, when it's bumped into, then what? Seirin answered, you lose your life. The monk continued, when it's not bumped into, then what? To this Seirin replied, there's no place to dodge to. The monk said, at that very moment, then what? Seirin replied, it's been lost. The monk then said, I wonder where it's gone. And Seirin responded, the grass is so deep, there's nowhere to seek. So the monk replied, shield yourself, Osho, then you'll be all right. And finally, Seirin clapped his hands and exclaimed, your poison is equal to mine. So this is an example of a manda, a discussion or interplay between the student and teacher, or master and disciple, where they each demonstrate their appreciation of the great matter. Sometimes they can appear pretty cryptic, but to be quite honest with you, words get very, very slippery when you're trying to discuss the great matter. It's not easy to express, everything that's involved here. As a matter of fact, the moment that you think you grasp it, you've actually lost it. So Master Seirin lived in the 9th century. He was a successor of Tozan. So those of you who studied the Mumonkan, Tozan is the master of suchness, right? Masagen, this flat-faced 3 pounds, right? Actually just appreciating things as they are. And after a short time, after being fully transmitted as a teacher, he went and lived as a hermit. And he didn't do that for long because he decided that sort of life wasn't befitting somebody who had been transmitted the Dharma. He decided that he needed to work to benefit all suffering sentient beings with the teachings that he'd been entrusted with, rather than being secluded. And so he leaves his mountain hermitage and was invited to become the abbot of Green Forest Monastery. The name by which we know him, Seirin, means green forest. And Seirin taught his students, without careful instruction, the gates of the ancestors are most difficult to enter. You must practice apart from mind, intention, or consciousness. The essential teaching of the ancestors is proceeding right now. The Dharma is apparent. What other matter is there? It's just another very subtle way of pointing to the great matter that's hidden right in plain sight all the time. This practice path, this path of Zen training, is not one of philosophy. It's not one of intellectual understanding. Ultimately, this practice path is a path of surrender. A path of surrendering anything we're attached to. Surrendering any idea of who we are or who we should be. If you surrender in this way, you let go of yourself or any idea or notion of the self, then you actually find your true self. After all, if it's not right here, right now, where is it? Where else could it be? All the teachings are apparent in this very moment. All the sutras are expounded before your very eyes. You can see them clearly. If we have any hope of maintaining them. So at the end of the day, there is no other great matter other than this life that you're living. Appreciate this life, this very existence. Have some idea of the life you wish you had, of the person you'll be when. Open up to your life as you're living it. Surrender to that. So in the case, the monk asked Seirin, how about when a student proceeds on the trail? Other translations has it, when they hit the road. There's a mistake in that question already built in. Another translation has it, how about when a student takes a shortcut on the trail? By saying that, it's already the long way around. The moment we put up some idea of some extrinsic or outside trail, someplace we have to go get to, right? Then we've missed the whole thing. It's not a shortcut. We're clinging to something. In this case, he's clinging to something, some idea of a path or a goal. This is the ultimate estrangement. Clinging to some notion of a story about practice rather than practicing your very own life or having your life practice you. So Seirin says, the dead snake hits the road. I advise you, don't bump into it. So when we turn away from our life, the only option we have is retreating into a story. What an anxiety-provoking idea. Estranging ourselves from the basic sanity of things as they are, to go wallow in a place of things as we hope they are or should be. You're creating something where nothing exists. And when you do that, you ignore the very thing that is. The monk says, so what if I bump into it? What then? Seirin replies, well, you lose your life. You lose your life. What are they talking about? This old dead snake is coiled everywhere. Coiled everywhere. You really can't help but bump into it if you're paying any form of attention. Yeah. Bump into it and lose who you think you are. You die in that sense. You die in that sense. But you die to live. I'm alive in a very real way. So the monk says, well, what if I don't bump into it? Right? Then what? There's no you who can bump. And there's nothing to bump into. Seirin adds in the case, there's no place to dodge to. You can't jump out of the way of life. You bump into your lived experience wherever you go. Just surrender. Then there's no problem. Try to apprehend it intellectually or make sense of it, and you're far away from it. But when you open to it directly, then you find it as it is. Cling, and you're in the dance of the small self, always seeking life, and never seeming to extricate yourself from suffering in some notion of death or dying. So then the monk says, well, at this very moment, or that very moment, then what? Seirin says, you've already lost it. If you're looking for it in some doctrinal notion of your mind, yeah, you may be bumping into it, but you've lost it by looking elsewhere for it. These ideas of past, of future, of tense are constructs. Don't worry about any other moment other than the one that you're here. It may appear as a dead snake, but trust me, if you pick it up, it's very much alive if you experience it directly. So the monk, in response to, you've already lost it, says, I wonder where it's gone. So we get a good hint here that the monk's on to, which is wonderful. He's caught up. He's caught up with it at this point. Seirin says, hey, the grass is so deep, there's no place to even seek. So he keeps pulling him along. Have you seen this too? Have you noticed this facet as well? If you get stuck in your mind weeds, there's no limit. There's no limit to the delusion that can obscure it. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, trying to find this moment in your discursive thoughts, trying to find the essence of the way reflected in your ruminations. But if you drop that off, just take a big, deep breath and open to what's right in front of you. Realize that there's nowhere to lose it in the first place. So the monk says, in that case, if it's all pervasive, if it's always present, if there's nowhere to hide, nowhere to search, then you better protect yourself, Osho. Then you'll be all right. Yeah. In which case, the monk is demonstrating he's no longer afraid. He sees it where it's at. He's not afraid of bumping into anything. And Seirin concedes. Your poison is equal to mine. With a touching approval of the monk's clarity. We don't always see the dance end this way. Sometimes we see a couple of extra blows, yeah, or being wrung out of the room. But in this case, we notice that they're seeing through the same eyes. We all are. If you just look right now. The Shoyoroku, before it presents a case, has a preface to the assembly. In this case, it's leaving, yet staying, dwelling, yet departing, not leaving, not dwelling. He's without a country. Where can he be met? Anywhere, everywhere. Tell me, what thing is it that can be so marvelous? Only one, yeah. Master Dogen, the author of the text, Bendoa, that we're going to be looking at over the next several weeks, wrote another fascicle called Instructions for the Cook. In it, he said, be very clear about this. A fool sees himself as another, but a wise person sees others as himself. You are not it. It actually is you. So which is the reflection? Where is the substance? Wherever you turn, you bump into it, yet you're not it. When it's not bumped into, when you don't see it as other, and you see it clearly, as your own true self, your own true nature. Stop thinking it through right now and you'll have it. When you become absorbed in your life in this way, we can begin really opening and appreciating the spontaneity of our lived existence. You can be a little playful and joyful with our lives, even the things that aren't the most savory parts, right? The parts that demonstrate as a challenge. We can begin to really appreciate where we stand. Yeah. Curiosity abounds. We loosen our reliance on knowing, which is really a way of distancing ourselves. Open to a state of perpetual wonder. We show up. We live. Just surrender to that. Surrender to that.
Thank you for joining us. If this podcast was meaningful to you and supported your practice, please give us a hand by joining us at oneriverzen.org.